Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere edition of On the Clock, brought to you by UPMC. We are here to get you as ready as you can possibly be for the upcoming NFL Draft. We are going to have a slew of programming here on Steelers.com and the Steelers social media platforms to get you ready for the aforementioned draft. A quick reminder before we introduce the illustrious panel: the opinions you are about to hear are the opinions of the illustrious panel and not the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, let's get to the rest of our happy group. I'm Mike Prisuta, joined as always by Matt Williamson, and new to our crew this year, Max Starks. Guys, how we doing?
Doing great.
Doing well.
We are going to start things off by presenting our first round of the NFL Draft. Mock 1.0, as the cool kids call these type of things these days. And the way we're going to do it this year is the way we did it last year. We will give you the first 10 picks, mine, Matt's, Max's. We'll kind of flip it around, go 11 through 20, and then the bottom third of the draft. And guys, Max, let's start with you. I noticed in looking at the advanced copy that all three of us are in agreement. Fernando Mendoza is the first overall pick, and Ruben Bain Jr. is the fourth overall pick.
And I think this is one where you kind of say, for the Raiders, for Clint Kubiak, don't mess it up. This is all you need to do. You need to get somebody in there that's going to excite this fan base and try and start the process of rebuilding what is the Las Vegas Raiders. And he's the clear-cut favorite at the quarterback position. You have a very distressing need at the quarterback position. So why not take advantage of this and don't get cute and try and trade out of the first pick and try and stockpile all these things. Get the quarterback right.
Matt, Max, let's keep it with you and take a look at the entirety of your picks 1 through 10. Anything that particularly interests or excites you about what you came up with here?
Well, I think the number 3 spot, we kind of looked at the Arizona Cardinals. There's a lot of different ways that they could go with LaFleur being the head coach and an offensive-minded coach. But I think the one thing was kind of clear, offensive lineman was a need for both Matt and I. And where we went at that, whether it's Fano, whether it's Maui Noah, it was the same thing. I know you went with the local homegrown product, which would excite the fan base in Jordan Tyson, move from ASU over there. But I really think that offensive line was such an issue. And when you think about whether it's Kyler Murray, whether it's Jacoby Brissett, or whether they're going somewhere else to fill that quarterback position, that offensive line has to be worked on, specifically the right side. And I think the attention last year was defense. So they got to put some more attention in whoever's going to be the QB and keeping him upright. And I think that's one that I kind of looked at was a very interesting one. For me, I went offensive lineman heavy early in this draft because I think that that's a premium position. Wide receiver a little bit deeper so you can get into the weeds and kind of delay a little bit. But I feel like the tackles, they're going to run and go off the board, and then it becomes a second tier really quickly on who you're getting in that top 10. So I kind of went a little bit heavy on offensive line needs just because those teams in the top 10 have glaring needs, aging offensive linemen, impending free agents. And so they need to restock that position group.
Let's take a look at Matt Williamson's picks 1 through 10 now. And Matt, in addition to us being in agreement on Mendoza and Bain in the exact spots that they're in, we all have Averill Reese, Jeremiah Love, David Bailey, and Spencer Fano as top 10 selections. Mm-hmm. And only Max was in disagreement on Keldrick Falk, the edge from Auburn. Max has him at 12, so
not far off,
pretty close to top 10. But is this first top 10 as relatively obvious as it seems? It's just a matter of order?
I'm not sure. I think some things can be sorted out, obviously, next week at the Combine. One thing I wanted to mention, this is our first one of the year. I think this draft, even 2 through 10, is lacking blue chip talent compared to previous years. So to Max's point, I think when in doubt, you take offensive tackles. They're just too hard to find. You don't want to be shopping for them in the free agent market, so you lock them up in the draft. One thing that's interesting, well, I'm going to stick with the division with my top 10 here too, is you look at the Browns situation. 4 of their top offensive linemen are hitting free agency, and they're aging, and it wasn't a good unit to begin with. And then the Bengals, once again, could go with what I did here and take a project edge rusher that seems like that they just keep going back to the well over and over in that market because Trey Hendrickson's probably not going to return.
Let's throw up my picks 1 through 10 now, and again, relatively similar in terms of the names. Max mentioned I like the Arizona State kid to Arizona. I know that's, you don't make a first-round pick just based on that, but when it works out, and I think that could work out for the Cardinals. I hope I'm wrong about number 6 because I look at Cleveland as offensively challenged in general, quarterback challenged in particular, wide receiver challenged, but combining Love with Judkins, the back out of Ohio State last year, Cleveland might just run the ball and play defense and be a lot better than it was a year ago. I also, Max, have 3 Ohio State guys in the top 10. That's probably about as big a surprise as you going heavy on offensive tackles.
Listen, there is talent, and you have to say this is a back-to-back playoff team, so the talent is there. I mean, Caleb Downs, arguably one of the best players overall in this. When we talk about the blue chips 2 through 10, that's one of the few blue chips that you can argue can fit on all 32 teams. You will find a way to get him on the field. And so that's why I think you had to go with him. Arvell Reese as well. Pass rush is a premium for a lot of these teams that are up there. So when you're pass rush starved and he's a star, you can argue whether he's up top or whether you like either of the Miami guys. We'll see at the Combine. You'll find whatever you want to argue that. But I think that's where you kind of settle. They got those guys, and they have them every single year in and year out. But yeah, Ohio State still has some good talent there. The coffers are not run dry.
Let's take a look at Matt Williamson's 11 through 20. And Matt, one of the things I found interesting about this middle section of the first round, we all have Jermon McCoy, cornerback from Tennessee, in this group. And he didn't play this year.
Right.
You got him 13th. Max has him 16th. I have him 11th. This guy must be pretty good.
The film was before, and now he's got some injury stuff, obviously, and this upcoming week, the Combine will be absolutely crucial for him. Make sure he can check those boxes, of course. I also have another Ohio State guy going here pretty high. Another one. Styles is really, really impressive as an off-the-ball linebacker. It's a good class of off-the-ball linebackers in general. Another note, it's teams like Dallas, Washington, Cincinnati. I almost think they have to go defense. I mean, there's a couple of these teams are just way stronger on the offensive side of the ball.
Tell me a little bit about your 14th overall pick, because I just want to hear you pronounce his name.
Well, I've been calling him Vega, so we'll go with that. It's early in the process. We will stick in the division since I talked Bengals and Browns earlier. I thought their guards were a weakness a year ago, and then the guy in between, Tyler Linderbaum, is set to hit free agency. So the interior of their O-line might need a massive facelift.
Turning now to Max Starks, picks 11 through 20. I see Max finally getting around to jumping on that Ohio State bandwagon with the aforementioned Caleb Downs. Max, what did you find particularly interesting about this portion of the draft?
Well, I thought this was one that when you look at kind of the value, this is where we also start to see teams are going to be first of their double dips, right? You're thinking about where the Falcons and the Rams making an early entrance here, a team that's going to be drafting later in this first round, like what they can do, like what's the priority? Am I going to go, in a decision where I'm going to go defensive early? And I thought right here was a perfect opportunity. I know a lot of speculation has been made about whether they'll take a quarterback at the end of the first round or not. But defense being the priority, they have a lot of free agents. They got 3 defensive backs going into free agency against a very good defense. So I feel like you kind of have to replenish the coffers because you're not going to get all 3 of those guys back. So you got to take your first stab, and that's why I went with Terrell from Clemson. I thought he's also one of those guys you could argue Delane, Terrell, McCoy, and some type of mixture there that are going to be the top corners off of the board. And so I looked at this being a prime opportunity for the Rams to really attack and get a top flight cover corner to go with the Rams, because you look at that division, you got the Super Bowl champs in there, San Francisco's in there. And I feel like San Francisco's pick is going to be one of those that you're going to need a guy that can go defend, because they're going to look to replenish their wide receiving core with all their departures. So I thought this was a very defensive, saturated portion of the draft.
Max, you also, as I do, have Lemon from USC down closer to 20 than 10. Do we have that right? And is that at all intriguing that that guy would be around that long?
Well, see, I think the biggest thing on that, Mike, is because wide receiver is so deep. I think teams are going to tend to overlook that and look for the lesser available position. So I think that will depress it. And here's the thing: it could be Lemon. It could also be Jordan Tyson. Like if the Cardinal, like you had the Cardinals taking him at 3. If you like Carnell Tate, there's Denzel Boston, KC Concepcion. Like there's a lot of different receivers that you can go. And I feel like whoever goes 1, there's going to be a lull, because they're like, well, we have a lot of receivers to choose from. So I think that's what's going to push down whoever that second or third receiver is into that area, and honestly be really good striking zone for the Steelers. They'll have a couple of options available to them. It's not like they're going to have to jump or worry that the receiver position is going to be run dry early in the first round, if that's the direction that they're going. So I think it kind of is indicative of that. There's so many defensive needs and there's only so many tackles. And I think those groups are going to be kind of absorbed early. And then you're going to see that defensive group kind of fill in the niche spots with free agency, whatever happens and doesn't happen with free agency for a lot of these teams.
Turning to my picks 11 through 20, a significant difference at 16, second pick of the first round for the New York Jets. I'm going quarterback. I don't know if Ty Simpson is the next Joe Namath or Bart Starr out of Alabama, but I know quarterbacks are the premium, and I don't think the Jets have one. And I think a lot of times, Matt, in the draft, it doesn't come down sometimes as much as to how good the guy actually is, as much as it does how badly you need one.
Oh, no, there's no question about it. And I have Simpson going to the Rams with their second pick, because we weren't allowed to do trades. But I could see a team that's down on their luck, like the Jets, kind of like the Jackson Dart situation last year, move from the end of the second or early second round back into the first round to get a guy like Simpson. And, Chambliss looks like he's going back to Ole Miss. So there's not many to pick from. So you better jump on them if you like them.
I also notice, Matt, that you guys did not pick a quarterback in this particular grouping.
No, I waited for a while. Simpson did not finish his career at Bama in glorious fashion, but
Didn't like the Rose Bowl?
First 8 games or so were strong, but we'll see. Yeah, I'm not exactly sold yet, but I think there's a really good chance that a second one ends up in the first round.
Okay, now let's get to what everyone's been waiting for. The bottom third of the draft, which includes 21st overall, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And guys, we're in agreement again. Everybody's got a receiver. We just have different receivers. Max, tell us about yours.
So I went with Carnell Tate. I think Carnell Tate can run the entire route tree. And this is one that you have to pick somebody. And so, like I said, that top 3 is all about fit. I would love Jordan Tyson here, but I think Jordan Tyson might be gone. He's my favorite receiver in this draft, but teams might not see it that way. They might like Carnell Tate. A lot of people have Carnell Tate mocked as the first receiver off the board, and Mekhi Lemon's another one that you think. So I think if you get to any amalgamation of either 3 of those guys, we're in a good place, because I think those are truly the top 3, and I think one of those guys will be here. It's just a matter of what those teams before us decide they like, and I we have a lot of wide receivers in this first round of this draft, and I think when you look at all of them, there's something that you can like about each of them, whether it's even a Denzel Boston or a KC Concepcion, who I have a little bit later drafted. You're okay. The top 5 receivers in this, I feel like, are all kind of bunched up in the same category. I think whichever one the Steelers land on is going to be good. It just so happens that in my list in this first round, that's where Carnell Tate was slotted as my third receiver.
Matt, you have Lemon from USC, and I was hinting a moment ago that maybe that's a guy you trade up to go get, but in your world, you don't have to.
Yeah, and Max mentioned this earlier. It is an unusually deep wide receiver draft. We can fight about who the best guy is. There isn't really a Jamar Chase-like prospect that just blows everybody away. But I could see as many as a dozen going in the top 2 rounds. So maybe they will fall, which could really help the Steelers if they are targeting 1 and 21. Or maybe a lot of these teams just decide, I'm just going to wait to the second round and grab one. There's been a lot of successful receivers in round 2.
Another thing I found interesting, guys, about this bottom 3, and Max, we'll start with you here, because I keep bringing up Ohio State guys to you because I'm trying to convert you to the church of the Big Ten. But Caden McDonald, I got him at 30th overall. You have him at 22nd, and Matt Williamson has him at 25th. He played 3 years at The Ohio State University. He has 3 sacks. This is not what you would call a pass rusher, but he stuffs that run pretty well. And we're finding more and more there's still a place for that guy, isn't there?
Absolutely. I think when we look at just last year alone, like let's just take the Steelers. How many top 5 running backs at whatever point in the season they were did we face back to back to back to back? And the wide receiver I know and the quarterback passing numbers are great, but those numbers I felt were depressed this year because of the advent of the run game. You saw James Cook, you saw Davon A-Chain, right? You saw Jonathan Taylor. You saw all these running backs kind of having this kind of renaissance year with running the football, and the attention of how many times did we have guys call for a 6 eligible offensive lineman into the formation to run the football. So the intent to run is there, and that's where I figure you've got to put like the Caleb Banks, the Caden McDonalds, these bigger, beefier D tackles that can take on double teams are going to be at a premium, especially in divisions where you know it's run the football, it's outdoor inclement weather, and late in the year, you're going to need those big bodies to absorb space. So I think, a Caden McDonald, a Caleb Banks, or both of those guys will kind of fall in the bottom of this first round and be really prized commodities for teams that are just looking to kind of pinch and put smaller pieces together. Because if you're drafting in this part of the round, you've made the playoffs, your nucleus is already set. So you want to add a little bit more caveat and a little bit more depth on the defensive line position.
And Mike, along those lines too, if you look at the teams that went really far this year, they had great defensive tackle pairings. And I think it's becoming more important than ever, to Max's point too, because teams like Seattle that won the Super Bowl, they want to stay in nickel no matter what the situation. And thus, when you deal with heavier sets like Max mentioned with the extra linemen, your D tackles have a lot more responsibility and a lot more importance.
Last guy I wanted to ask you both about, Max, we'll start with you. Caden Proctor, the tackle from Alabama. He's in my bottom third of the round at 25th. Both you and Matt liked him more than I did. You've got him at 14. Matt had him at 17. Did I underestimate his pass catching capability?
No, I don't think you did. I just think that the priority, Caden Proctor is one of those curious prospects. He tracks as either guard or tackle. And I think that flexibility, when you're talking about depth and a potential plug and play starter, that's where his value was. And especially, I had him going to Baltimore because I look at Linderbaum, Falele potentially being free agents in the interior of that offense. You're going to have to get one in free agency and draft another to fill those 2 potential spots if you don't bring either one of those back. So I kind of hedged my bet in that, and I think that's what Caden Proctor brings. He can play tackle, but I think he tracks as a guard as well. And so that type of flexibility as a starter-capable player is a little bit more value in this draft. And when we talked about offensive linemen kind of being at a premium, he tracks in there because he's a 2-position flexible player.
Well, maybe 3 if you count the tight end skills.
That's true.
If he
true.
Scores,
Spencer Anderson.
If he scores on that tackle-eligible pass, does he jump into the top 10?
I actually had the same thoughts as Max. I sent him to Detroit to play guard now, maybe kick out the left tackle when Decker retires, down the road and moves on. The thing about Proctor is I want to see his weight next week. Yeah, I mean, he's a big fella.
Maybe the weeks after that.
Yeah. If he's 380-ish, I got a problem with that,
I sent him to Chicago because if anybody's going to throw to an offensive tackle, it's going to be Chicago. That's going to do it for us. I want to remind everyone that there is a bunch more of this stuff coming, so keep checking it out. We're going to start going through our position reviews one by one, our top 5 at each position. We're going to go back and do a further review at each position. We'll be sprinkling the mock drafts in as we go along, so you're going to want to stay with Steelers.com and all the Steelers social media platforms. And when you do, remember, these opinions are ours, not those of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Until next time, for Max Starks and Matt Williamson, I'm Mike Prisuta. This has been On the Clock, brought to you by UPMC. Thanks for watching, everyone.